All right, man, peace. So, brothers, this is going to be another series that I'm going to start pertaining to the liberal Negro, especially those of them who are in exalted positions in the media, whether it be the print media or the television media, and whether or not they're actually more offended by quote-unquote reverse racism than so-called white people are, because you will find this dynamic where the liberal Negro is going to assist the liberal Caucasian in creating confinements for so-called black people to express themselves about what they feel about race, to make them think that they have to be held equally accountable when it comes to the racial dynamics and how they communicate with one another, as well as with the so-called Caucasian, as the Caucasian is held accountable, even though they're not operating from a quote-unquote equal playing field, because there's no such thing as equal. And that's the point. The job of the liberal Negro is to always reinforce this false equal paradigm, something that's never going to come to fruition. I'm saying that because, as many of you brothers most likely know, the latest false contrivance, the latest bullshit narrative, contrived media storyline revolving around race is this Montrezl Harrell Luka Doncic nonsense, where Montrezl Harrell calls Luka a white boy or a bitch ass white boy, whatever he called him, some low level trash talk. Shit that no real baller is offended by. I guarantee you, Luka Doncic was not offended at all. He was not concerned about it at all. If I'm Luka Doncic and I'm playing against a so-called black man, he calls me a bitch ass white boy when I'm averaging 31.5 points a game, 12 assists, 11 rebounds. I know that I'm in his head. That's what I know. If you're flopping to try to get fouls on me because you can't stop me, and now you're calling me a bitch ass white boy, and I'm giving you numbers and I'm hitting game winning shots, I know that I'm in your head. I'm not concerned about all that weak ass trash talk. At the end of the day, whatever you dish out, you have to be able to take. But the job of the mainstream liberal media is to once again use these racial storylines not to so much shackle the Caucasian, but to make both sides, both the so-called Caucasian and the so-called Negro, believe that they have to operate on quote-unquote equal playing fields. That the so-called black man must understand that he cannot say certain things to the so-called Caucasian, because if we want equality, we have to treat them equal. As if there's any chance of the so-called black man being on a quote-unquote equal playing field in this society. This is not our rest. This is not our kingdom. If we spend more time striving for our own, what we find is that we get more respect from the other nations, the other quote-unquote races of people. But they keep us like a dog chasing our own tail with these silly, nonsensical, and ridiculous expectations for quote-unquote racial equality. And they're led by people like this moron here, Shannon Sharp, as well as others, liberal Negroes on television, whose job it is to act as self-appointed, or maybe behind the scenes appointed by others, racial gatekeepers. Just pay very close attention to how emotional Shannon Sharp gets over the course of this segment. So anyway, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
Okay, we are going to change topics right now and get back to more that was happening with the Clippers and Mavs series, guys, because yesterday during warm-ups for Game 4, Clippers forward Montrezl
Harrell needs to be more concerned about rebounding, being proficient on offense, and defending his position better than he is about calling Luka Doncic a fucking bitch-ass white boy. Who cares? There's nothing bitch-ass about how that dude plays. He's knocking these clowns over on the Clippers like fucking bowling pins. So they better put their big boy pants on for Game 5. That's what they need to be concerned about.
To Luka Doncic after cameras caught Harrell calling Luka a quote, bleep bleep white boy in Game 3.
Luka ain't thinking about that shit. His head is in a whole other stratosphere right now.
Luka told reporters, quote, sometimes you say things you don't want to say. He apologized. I respect that, so no problems. Shannon, should Montrez have been fined or suspended here?
See, what they're trying to do, once again, they're going to use the sports world to engineer the quote-unquote real world. So-called black man, if you want quote-unquote equality, you have to watch how you speak to the Caucasian. No, at the end of the day, there's something called civility. So that means that you have to watch how you speak to anyone, unless you're not concerned with how you get spoken to back. But on the basketball court, on the football field, there are certain things that are going to be said to you to throw your mind off whack, to intimidate you, to get you distracted, or when your opponent is frustrated. That's why I state that if Luka Doncic is the person that I think that he is, not only was he not emotionally hurt by what was said, he was probably entertained by it. Within his subconscious mind, he probably was like, I got this dude now. He's worried about commenting about my quote-unquote race. And as so-called black men, we have to be concerned about far higher things than getting into a quote-unquote pseudo-racial tit-for-tat trash-talking session with another athlete on the basketball court. There are far bigger fish for us to fry when it comes to the issues that we have within our quote-unquote community.
I believe he should have been fined. Yeah, we got to be careful here of saying that in the heat of competition we're allowed to say things because that's the emotion of the ball game.
Well, actually, it was Luka Doncic who said that in the heat of competition people say things. Montrezl Harrell never said that.
Get it? Yes. And Skip, a lot of times, like black on black, and we say things to each other, that's different. But when someone else outside of that were to say that, we're not going to say that's just trash talk. We're going to become highly enraged and we're going to be upset.
Speak for yourself. Speak for yourself. I promise you that there are very high level athletes who've been called the N-word on the football field. They didn't flip out, take off their helmet, and try to beat their Caucasian opposition to death. I promise you that back in the 1960s, Bill Russell was called the N-word plenty of times on the basketball court. He didn't turn around and try to punch a dude in the face. He just said, I'm going to block his shot 12 times and get 35 rebounds. That's just what it is. At the end of the day, and I'm not saying that brothers should just tolerate verbal abuse. I'm not saying that. But you should have the breadth of mind and the scope of mind to grasp context. Sometimes people are just saying wild shit to you to see if they can intimidate you or throw you off, and it happens everywhere. You might be in the workplace and you're around someone, a colleague, who does not like you, and maybe you don't like them. And they may hear that something bad happened to you, and they may throw a little comment out there to see how you're going to respond, to see if they can get you to get emotional. A lot of times it's just about keeping yourself together and knowing who you are. And at the end of the day, if Montrezl Harrell call him a bitch ass white boy, or call him a bitch or whatever, that's not that big a deal. But this is about, once again, trying to establish the geography of race relations. They want the so-called black man to know you're going to be held accountable for the things that you decide to say to white massa. If we want white massa to love us, we have to show love back to him. That's Shannon Sharp's mentality. He tries to front like he's some pro-black person. He's a liberal black.
I can just imagine. Had Luka Doncic said, be a B-boy.
Yeah. If he said, be a B-boy. And then Montrezl Harrell started to break dance like a B-boy.
I wonder if that would have been, man, that's just Luka trash talking. We would have been outraged. Well, we should be equally outraged.
Really? So why are you not outraged that Skip Bayless, at least according to his version of the story, claims that Larry Bird went into the locker room during the All-Star break when they were having a three-point shooting contest, looked at all the other contestants and said, which one of you niggas is coming in second? I've never seen you get outraged about that, Shannon Sharp.
Somebody equality. You can't just want equality for your race or for your gender or when it comes to your community.
Now, brothers, I hope that you heard that. Because I always tell you that the liberal agenda only uses the plight of the so-called black man so that you can become basically like the horse that they can hitch their wagon to. And in their wagon is the homosexual agenda, the lesbian agenda, the transgender agenda, the toxic feminist agenda. But it's your job to be the horse. You're going to lead the way. They're going to talk about the quote-unquote plight of the so-called black man and act as if they care so that you can be the infantry in their army. You're going to take all the bullets, but they're going to reap the spoil. They're going to reap the rewards. So an idiot like Shannon Sharp here is letting you know, as a so-called black man, you cannot look to be treated like a man in this society unless you're also willing to be a soldier for the homosexual movement, the transgender movement, and the feminist movement. I'm going to rewind this back a little bit.
If you're about equality, you can't just want equality for your race or for your gender or when it comes to your community.
You see, brothers, that's why you're not supposed to be about equality. It's supposed to be about empowerment. Because when you're about equality, you have to be as worried about these other groups and these other demographics as you claim to be worried about your own. That's what Shannon Sharp is revealing, and that's what I've always told you about the liberal philosophy or the liberal ideology. It's based in globalism. It's not about the empowerment of our own. So Shannon Sharpe wants you to know, so-called black man, even though you only control 0.01% of the economy, you should be just as concerned with the empowerment of liberal feminist women, the homosexuals, and the lesbians, even though they're above you on the liberal totem pole, as you are concerned about yourself. Now, keep in mind, Shannon Sharpe is saying what he's saying about how you have to be concerned about all people and equality. But when LeBron James came out and basically separated himself from the issues that were occurring in China, when the people in Hong Kong were trying to revolt so that they could have a democratic government installed, and all the wokeities and the pro-blackities, the fake pro-blackities who are really liberal black, gave LeBron James an out and an excuse, with Shannon Sharpe being one of them. Shannon gave LeBron a pass. He had nothing to say about that. But now he's saying that you have to be concerned about all people who are looking for equality. And look at the look on his face. This dude is under demonic possession. See, when you firmly adhere to and believe in certain philosophies, that's a demon that enters into your body.
You got to want it for everyone.
No, you don't. As a so-called black man, I do not have to want homosexuals to be empowered. That's their problem. They have to fight for their own rights. We have way too much to be concerned with as so-called black men.
Oh, I'm glad Trez apologized. I do not. It is a racist comment.
I'm happy that he apologized as well so that they could put that shit to bed. It never should have been a big deal to begin with. But right now, so-called black men have to understand that you're under the highest of scrutiny, because they have to make sure that, a lot of the racial interplay that's been occurring over the past 3 months is kept under control. So-called black men, you have the right to be upset with so-called white people. Just don't say anything about the Caucasian Jew. On the basketball court or on the football field, how you speak to the so-called Caucasian is going to be monitored, because we're striving for quote-unquote equality. And we'll see in the hiring practices in the next few months. Are they going to start to hire so-called black men? The only way to change the problems in the so-called black community is from household to household. Because from his childhood upward, the so-called black man is being taught that he's not worth anything, that he's not truly a ruler, he's not a king. He should be looking for equality and not rulership. So that's why nothing changes, because idiots like Shannon Sharpe believe that the key is in getting white people to love us.
I don't believe it's racism, because there are two different things. Racism is about power, Skip. I can deny you from going somewhere.
No, not really. If you can deny someone from going somewhere, that shows your power and your rulership. People get quote-unquote racism and rulership. I won't say that they get it confused, they get it conflated. And there is a bit of a conflation there. But racism really is, I'm going to show preferential treatment to my own because I want to preserve our authority and our power. Racism also is, I'm going to deny you access to certain resources that I have because, once again, I want to preserve my power and my authority. Now, if you're a shrewd-minded person and you're civil-minded, then you know that there is a level of humanity that you have to have while also maintaining your independence as a culture. So-called black people don't have a real culture here because we define our culture by a corporate designation that is an actual color called black. So therefore, we're constantly looking for a new way to define ourselves. And since we call ourselves black, that means that our definition must be interlocked with the people who are called white. So we're never going to be independent as long as we call ourselves by a color, because you cannot have black without white. I say this constantly, and I hope that brothers are starting to understand this. As long as you're pro-black, you also have to be pro-white. There's nowhere on the earth that you're going to be able to go and be independent and have a true sense of history and culture as long as you call yourself black, because you're always going to yearn for the reconnection to the white.
Talk about institutional and systemic racism. It's the policies that are in place that prevent people, a race or a minority of people, from doing things.
That's interesting. Shannon Sharpe, can you name some of the policies and laws that are based in systemic racism? This is how you know that he does not really know what he's talking about. There are almost no laws on the books, unless they're antiquated, that are based in systemic racism. What people call systemic racism is actually the authority figures, the administrators who are placed in power, who have the ability to interpret the laws how they want so that they can subjugate a particular group of people. Now, if you want to say that that is systemic racism, that people who are in power have the ability to determine how to interpret the laws, now that's a better point. But the Civil Rights Act of 1965, I believe it was, in 1964, that was supposed to nullify any and all laws that were predicated on elevating one group over another. So once again, Shannon has no real idea what he's talking about.
A racist comment, and that can be construed as that. Because remember, Draymond got suspended for a game for calling LeBron a B word. Mm-hmm. Now, there have been times, now this was David Stern, where
which made no sense whatsoever, but I understand why that occurred. It was not like it was just in the normal flow of trash talk. The action had stopped, and there appeared to be some type of almost altercation that was going to occur between LeBron and Draymond. But Draymond calling him a bitch, that should not have led to any type of a suspension. But in reality, the reason why Draymond was suspended was because of the motion that he made towards LeBron when he was trying to get up off the ground, and plus his track record. In and of itself, I don't think that Draymond would have been suspended for calling LeBron James the B word.
Rajon Rondo because he leveled a slur, a homophobic slur at Bill Kennedy, an official.
No, he just told him the truth about what he was. Now, you can call that a quote-unquote slur. A lot of people don't know where the term faggot comes from. The term faggot is just a bundle of sticks. So many times you take that bundle of sticks and you light it on fire. That's where you get the term flaming faggot from, because during the Middle Ages, if you were found to be committing the act of sodomy or buggery with another man, they would burn you alive. So that's where the term flaming faggot comes from. Because the people who were being burned for their actions, they were likened unto a bundle of sticks that was being burned.
Roy Hibbert, Skip, at the press conference, yeah, he uttered that. He was fine. Kobe was fine. Skip, I'm glad Trey's apologizing. Yes, in the heat of the moment. And this is not, and I get people like, well, it's the heighten. It's not a heighten. You have to understand, if you expect something, you have to be willing to give something. Mm-hmm.
I agree with that to a degree. The concept of reciprocity is an essential concept to grasp if you want to be treated in a way that you think is endearing to yourself or respectful to yourself. You have to show respect. But it's a bit of a straw man, because I don't think that most so-called black people actually want equality. They've just been convinced that they want equality. What so-called black people actually need is a sense of self-identity, and they're never going to get that as long as they embrace liberalism. Shannon Sharpe is a very devoted soldier for liberalism, and underneath a lot of the pro-black bullshit that he spews, he's far more interested in Luciferianism and the seduction of Luciferian principles like globalism and the redefinition of religion than anything else. It's very obvious when you listen to how he speaks and what he says.
So because if Luka had said that, man, we would have lost our mind. Our community...
You would have lost your mind. Speak for yourself. If somebody would have said, Luka told me I'm a bitch-ass black boy, I would have said, well, what did you say to him? And if dude would have said, I didn't say anything to him, then I would have said, so you telling me that you let that man call you a bitch-ass black boy and score 35 points, get 15 rebounds, and 15 assists on you? I have news for you. You're a bitch-ass black boy.
So be careful when you say people say things out of frustration, because that's the argument that the other side used. I was frustrated. I was angry. And I said that. That's not a reflection of who I am. Do I believe Trez is racist? No. But that comment should have leveled him a fine, and the NBA should have came out and issued a statement and said this was unacceptable. And moving forward, we fine Montrezl, and moving forward, this will not be tolerated. Simple as that.
That's interesting. So the term white boy is now going to be synchronized with words like faggot and other terms that one might deem to be inflammatory. That's interesting. That's good to know. So are we also going to find players if they call each other a bitch?
Nothing more, nothing less. Trez was wrong. He admitted he was wrong, but he should have been fine on this occasion.
Don't worry about it, Shannon. Your job is safe, bro. We understand you're pro-homosexual, pro-lesbian, pro-transgender. You don't have to worry about getting fired, Shannon Sharp. You're good.
Okay. I hear everything you just said, and I'm with most of what you said.
In other words, Skip is like, dude, you're going too far. It's not that serious. But I know why Shannon does what he does. He's scared to lose his job. I stated this a very long time ago. Shannon Sharp comes from a generation of so-called black males who believe that they've made it if they're working in a corporation next to a Caucasian man and they have to come to work with a blazer on, a button-up shirt, and a tie.
And I realize we are in heightened times.
No, we're not. Actually, we're in contrived times.
Of racial sensitivity, and I'm glad for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I realize that a lot of white people are out there right now saying, double standard. You black people have held our feet to the fire for everything we say and do, and now a black man has called a white man white boy.
Oh, wow. Let's march and protest. Montrezl Harrell calls somebody a white boy.
I get that. Now I'm going to speak as just a white boy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Skip Bayless, if you're going to speak as a white boy, then that pretty much means that whatever you say is invalidated because you're supposed to speak as a human being, right? Because allegedly you believe in equality. So if you're going to speak as a white boy, I have a hard time taking what you have to say seriously because clearly you're noting that you're partial.
Personally, am not offended by being called a white boy. It's racial identification, but I do not see it as a racist slur directed at white people.
Because it's not. But Shannon Sharp and other liberal Negroes, they have to overdo it. They have to go above and beyond because they're so concerned with trying to impress liberal Caucasians to show them I'm down for your cause. They have to get upset about things that even Caucasian people are not upset about. Skip Bayless is not upset because he knows that it's not a big deal. Luka Doncic is not upset because he knows it's not a big fucking deal. If the worst thing that you get called is white boy, and you know that you can go back to a home country with a real culture, or that you can go pretty much anywhere affluent in your country and not have to worry about getting stereotyped, that's a hell of a trade-off.
Obviously, there is no word in our language that equals the N-word when white people use that against black people.
Correct, I agree.
So, unless you can tell me something, I've never heard a slur used by blacks to whites that I would say, ooh, that's that bad word that you use,
Right.
that unacceptable, that evil word.
Right.
I always tell you, that N-word ending in hard ER, it's the most evil word in the English language. I wish it could be eradicated. But
I can think of one. Most white people, they get mad as hell. You call them a devil. Oh, I'm a devil, huh?
no, an equivalent the other way.
No, I don't.
And by the way, if we reverse this subject, just for the record, if we reverse this incident, and Luka Doncic had dared to call Montrezl Harrell a black boy, that is as racist. That's only one cut below the N-word for me because, as you well know, boy is from slavery days when the slave master referred to the slaves, the male slaves, as boys.
Yep.
I can't even, it makes me cringe. I get chills even saying the word.
We get it, Skip Bayless. You were born 69 years ago in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and you don't have a racist bone in your body. You've never used the word nigger. We get it. You floated above it all your whole life. I understand, Skip Bayless.
If you reverse it, you better believe all hell is going to be unleashed on Luka, whoever would dare to say
But what if Luka said, man, I got caught up, I was in the heat of the moment?
Okay.
It is basketball. You know, I'm trash talking.
Okay, let's talk.
Also understand that Luka's from Slovenia. So I'm not even sure if he grew up around that many so-called black people where he's from. Now, he did become a professional basketball player at a relatively young age, and I would think that he was surrounded by people of various quote-unquote races and cultures from a young age. And many people overseas, when they think about American culture, they think about the music, the fashion, and they look at many of the more notable American quote-unquote heroes as caricatures. more than real people. They're not really that aware of a lot of the racial dynamics here in America until they get here. So I don't even think that terms like white boy are going to hit Luka the same way as they would a so-called Caucasian American.
Heat of the moment. Okay, let me frame this better. I in the sports context, have been called white boy numbers of times all the way back into my Little League days, because when we played the black kids and it was still segregated in Oklahoma City in those days, and I played the same black kids and became close friends with a lot of them, T. Pendarvis. There's some really close friends that I kept to this day.
Right.
And the point is, they would often say, that white boy can hit, or something like that in a basketball
Right, it's never been that big a deal. When somebody say that white boy, he can get down. Or, talking about Eminem back in the day, that white boy could spit. That's never been something that was viewed as being incendiary or dismissive or insulting at all. So the fact that these liberal Negroes are on TV trying to blow this shit up, it just shows you how fucking desperate they are, once again, for Caucasian validation. And just to keep their job, I have to show that I'm going to play it even.
Back at Vanderbilt, intramural basketball, we used to play, the scholarship football players got to have a team in intramural basketball, and they were mostly black kids. And when I played against them, they'd say white boy, but they would usually use it out of respect, like, you can shoot, or you just made a play. Way to go, white boy.
Well, hey, if you say, when they said Larry Bird, man, Larry Bird is a tough-ass white boy. Mm-hmm. That's one thing. But when you say B.A.
Okay, now, thank you. Now we're to the crux of the problem.
Yeah.
Would I be offended?
So then, Shannon Sharp, are you offended by the term white boy or the context? I mean, let's get to the point. Either way, to me, it's not that big a deal. And Luka Doncic understands that. Luka could look in the mirror and he knows that he's not a bitch-ass dude. You can talk about how he plays. He plays with heart. So he's not offended by it because he knows the dude right now, the Clippers, they scrambling trying to figure out how to guard him.
You call me, I'm going to say it one time just so people know what it is.
Go ahead, Skip. Go ahead and say it. You know you want to say it. A bitch-ass white boy.
One time. Yeah. Bitch-ass white boy.
Yes.
If you or anybody else call me that, yeah.
We're fighting. Just to let you know, I don't care how big you are, Shannon Sharp. I'm going to take you down.
You got a problem, because that's what I'm going to focus and fixate on.
Right.
The rest of it, like white boy, it's even out in popular culture. There's a movie not too long ago, White Boy Rick.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a song by Foreigner back in the day in the late 70s called Dirty White Boy, and it was an ode to Elvis Presley, who was a badass white boy.
Play that funky music, white boy.
There you go. Okay, so that's that. But once we get to be a white boy, now we got a problem.
Right.
So why was that used by Montrezl as he had just scored on Luka, and he's backing up the court? You be a white boy.
Yeah.
Okay. It was because I believe that Luka started this on a previous possession.
Probably the case.
And he dared to. First, he tripped up Montrezl, and then he turned to him, and Doc said he cursed, and I couldn't really see it on the tape, but he accused Montrezl Harrell of flopping.
He said, don't even stop flopping.
Okay, stop flopping, and he either maybe stuck an MF on it, or maybe he put stop effing flopping or something. I couldn't really tell, but Doc said he swore. Okay, help me out here. What do we know about Montrezl Harrell? He is a beast of a basketball player. Huge pride, wears his emotions on his sleeve, and he is a man's man.
Yes.
Well, if you accuse that guy of flopping, have you not questioned his manhood? Wouldn't you take that personally from Luka, even though you respect his game? But, boy, that's kind of the ultimate basketball insult to say, quit.
I can see why Jordan signed Luka Doncic to Jordan Brand. I can see why. Just watching the passion in which he played with in that Game 4, the focus that he had, and how he was not going to give up, and also how he disdains floppers. Jordan was the same way. You can go back and watch a lot of playoff games from the late 80s, early 90s. If Dennis Rodman would flop or Doc Rivers would flop trying to guard Jordan because they knew they couldn't and they would end up flopping, he would look down at him the same way and say, stop fucking flopping. And to this day, in the 15 years that Michael Jordan played in the NBA, whether it was with the Chicago Bulls or the Washington Wizards, you cannot find one film reel of him flopping.
And I believe I read his lips correctly. I believe he said, stop flopping, man.
Okay. Well,
I don't
Doc said he swore, but whatever.
Now, Skip,
Okay.
if he wanted to swear, why would he swear in his native tongue? And Doc would have never knew what the hell he was talking about.
He speaks good English.
I know he does.
And by the way, he has become known as a really good Larry Bird-esque trash talker. And you know what? I love his trash talk. It can go profane. I don't care because it shows me he is not afraid of any, especially the black player, the black stars. He's not afraid. He will.
You're not going to be able to dominate in the sport of basketball or anything else in life if you're intimidated by the people around you.
It up. He will trade barbs.
Yeah,
with
when he
you.
hit that shot, what did he do? He turned around, he bumped his chest, he said, "This my bleep. This my bleep."
Okay.
And Skip, I was so turned on. I said, shit, I haven't seen anything like that since LeBron.
So we have what was also his reputation in his rookie year, soft.
Yes.
You could rough him up.
Yes.
You could get physical
Yes.
with him and knock him off his game psychologically.
Yes.
So Montrezl is angry that he called him out for
Right.
flopping. He said it right to his face.
Yes.
Quit flopping, man, or whatever he called him. And so Montrezl comes back down the next time and he just goes in and hammers the ball home
Right.
over Luka.
Right.
And so take that is what he's saying. B.A.
Right.
white boy, okay? I get it.
Yeah, I mean, come on, man. We in battle right now. Ain't nobody worried about no silliness like that.
started it and he was finishing it. Is it like the nicest thing in the world to say? No. But am I, as a white boy, taking that personally? No. I don't think Luka took it personally.
At all.
And to Montrezl's credit, he went over and apologized to him, and I got to watch it. Did you get to see it on the sideline?
I did. Yes.
It looks sincere.
It's good because Trez was backing up. Luka, I don't know, because it was a quiet jam. So I don't know if Luka actually heard it.
I don't think he did.
Maybe he could have, because like I said, Skip, there's no fans.
Maybe.
Because they're fans, obviously you're not going to hear.
Maybe some of the other Mavericks
right,
heard it.
Right. And so that's my only thing. And we got to get out of the, in the things, in competition, people say things. Nah, watch your tongue. You know what to say in a competition.
Okay.
That's interesting. I would love to hear the testimony of many of Shannon Sharp's former foes so that they could say certain things that he would tell them while he was on the field with them, because I've heard some things that Shannon Sharp would do to some of his opponents just to get them thrown off their game. I remember hearing a story where supposedly Shannon Sharp started to give out the phone number of the girlfriend of the linebacker who was trying to guard him at the line of scrimmage. Every snap, he would yell out one number. So, then one snap, 8. Then the next snap, the next play, 6. Then the next play, 3. Just to give out that dude's woman's phone number to throw him off.
Competing for a long time. I competed for a long time. And I've said some things when I'm dealing with black-on-black players. But when I'm dealing with white players, I know what's offensive. And I'm not going to use the heat of competition, the heat of battle, to throw something out there that says, man, I just got caught up in the moment. No.
Okay, I got it. But he was retaliating.
Yeah.
And in the end, I don't think any white person who understands sports would be offended by that.
Or real competition. Ain't nobody worried about that. But Shannon Sharp, he's worried about making sure that he can appeal to his woke contingent and also his woke sponsors.
I don't consider that a racist slur against white people.
Yeah, it's hard to me to say the equivalent of Luka saying "stop flopping, man,"
Yeah.
and equating to Trez calling him a white boy. I don't think that's the equivalent. That's a false equivalence. That's not even comparable. But like I said,
right. But was he really trying to attack Luka racially, or was he just expressing his own frustration at the fact that the bitch ass white boy has been dominating him and his team?
Apologize. And I think the thing, and for me, for him to take the initiative, because a lot of times, Skip, you get so dug in, I said what I said and I'm not apologizing. But for Trez to be the bigger man, to know he was wrong, that's the first. I was wrong. To go up to him and say, bro, I didn't mean anything by it. I got caught up in the moment. Please accept my apology.
Okay, Lucas said he was surprised he even apologized.
Yeah.
So was he offended? I don't think so, unless he was just putting on a...
Skip, if somebody were to say, and let's just say I'm playing in Slovenia.
Yeah.
If somebody says something to me, I might not even know what the equivalent of it is. So how am I going to get upset?
Yeah, Skip. If I'm in Slovenia, somebody might say something to me. They might say Goonie Google, and I might say Goonie Google back. Let them know I speak that shit too, motherfucker. We can take it outside.
Something that's offensive. I don't know what it is. I'm sure Luka, he can speak English, but I don't think he's as fluent up into the slang and the lingo.
I don't know. I think he's pretty good. I think he knows what he's saying.
I know he's a good ball player. I know he's.
That's why I know Skip. I know he's a good ball player. I told LeBron better watch your back. I got a new man on the horizon.
He is a good ball player.
He's great. Oh, baby bird. Say it with me. Say it with me.
You can't.
Luka Doncic plays nothing like Larry Bird. That is the laziest comparison. I hate when people try to compare Luka Doncic to Larry Bird. Luka's comp is James Harden. He's a taller, bigger, stronger, but slower and smarter right-handed version of James Harden. That's it. James is probably a bit more skillful than Luka right now. There are certain things that James can do that Luka just simply can't do. The tightness of the handle, the way that he can finish. Even though Luka is a pretty good finisher, James is a better finisher than Luka right now. He's also a better three-point shooter and a better free throw shooter. But Luka has a higher basketball IQ than James.
Him in the same sentence with Larry Bird when he can't shoot a lick.
I can't tell he can't shoot. A 38-footer says he can shoot. That's what that say.
3 air balls in a game says he can't shoot.
It don't matter.
Oh,
Skip.
okay.
Oh.
The Clippers better wake up, man. They better wake the fuck up. Because this dude, Luka Doncic, will fuck around and steal that series from them.
Look, I can miss 5 field goals, but if I kick that game winner, what that mean?
That means no 3 points get Baylor's.
And he said it's 5.
If you miss 5, you'd be on a plane home.
No, that's the Cowboy kicker. That's what y'all kick. That's what your kicker did.
When Luka made that shot, I literally jumped off my couch.
Did you jump off your couch to go to the kitchen and make your husband something to eat? I mean, I don't know how some of you modern day men do it, man. Basically, you get married just to have someone sit next to you on a damn couch. That's why y'all relationships don't last. Nobody's doing anything in the house. People just sit next to each other on the fucking couch arguing over what you're going to watch on TV.
I'm like, what is happening right now?
I didn't jump up there. I just hit bang.
He's 21 years old. What were you guys doing when he was 21? 21.
I know a guy that was 21 that was still in college dorms at 21. And so,
yeah, he was still in the college dorm at 21 getting ready for the Olympics so that he could become a multi-billionaire.
he the GOAT. That was somebody say.
I don't know who that is. We're going to move on to the Cowboys.
But anyway, that's basically it on that, brothers, at least for now. We'll see what else comes, at least to the forefront, when it comes to a lot of these fake racial storylines that the media is going to try to bring out to once again create these boundaries for so-called black people to believe they have to adhere to when it comes to racial conversations. And people like Shannon Sharp and other liberals in the media are going to try to reinforce that, oh, well, you know, if we want equality, we have to make sure, blah, blah. Fuck all that. There's no such thing as equality. So peace.